So, just a caveat, while I'm doing this, just a disclaimer, right? Is that whatever I'm sharing is based on my own personal experience in terms of trying to get a motorbike license in Singapore. I have by no means completed it and gotten my license. I'm actually about two-thirds or four-fifths, three-quarters, whatever you call it, through the entire experience. But I was thinking I'll just share it while it's still fresh in my brain. There are some online resources, but I'm not sure if there are any which is very, very recent. That means during COVID times. I'm also not a professional YouTuber, by the way, or professional content creator. I'm just doing this more for sharing and hoping that other people might find this useful. So in Singapore, you basically have three schools. So what I'll be sharing is basically more focused on BPDC because that's where I'm doing it right now. And the reason why I chose BPDC to do my motorbike license is because I have a class 3 license, a car license, um, from there many, many years ago. And it's comforting to go back there because I'm kind of like familiar with the location. Um, so for the motorbike license, there are actually a few types, but all of us have to start with one specific type, which is the really basic one, which is 2B class, 2B license. So what this means is that you can ride anything, which is any motorbikes that are 200cc and below. What this means is that bikes that are smaller in capacity, speed, etc., is actually limited. The horsepower is also limited, and you would typically find that a lot of, for example, scooters fall within this range. Once you pass your 2B license, could actually go on to do your 2A. Of course, you wait for a year, blah, 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 before you sign up for 2A license. So what this does is that anything 201cc to 400cc. So for anyone with dreams of owning a Harley, or even doing like bike touring in other countries, a majority of the bikes would actually fall to above 200cc, 201cc onwards. Then you have also class 2 license. So anything that's 401cc. So, again, Harleys, BMW bikes, even your Ducatis, a lot of the European bikes actually fall within this range. Going into my experience at BBDC, two types of lessons, right, that you would have to go for. So you start off with basic theory. So over here, it's basically stuff like road rules, road signs, learning how to read it, and knowing what to do, understanding what those road signs mean. And then you have got riding theory, which tells you the basics of, things about the motorbike. So it'll tell you basically the type of gears the motorbike has, how do you do pre-ride checks, etc. So it's more of motorbike related stuff that you would learn. So once you do these 4 lessons, then you can actually go start signing up for your practical, right? So you can go online, use the app, start booking your practical lessons. For your practical lessons, there is basically lessons 1 to 5, but this doesn't mean it's 5 lessons. Um, Actually, and this is very much circuit. So you stay within the circuit of the driving school, and again, it is not 5 lessons. Actually, it's 11 lessons in total. So you have basically lessons 1.01 to 1.03, and also 2.01 to 2.02, and I lump them together. Again, is in my mind, based on how I define it. These are 5 lessons, and it's very much teaching you like the basics, right? So basically, how do you change your gears? How do you control the clutch? How do you brake? How do you start the bike? How do you do your pre-ride checks? The practical side of things. And you will also start to you know, try out your skills on the slope. And also things here is really also how do you switch lanes, etc. So this is 5 lessons in total, and then after that you go into 3.01, 3.02, 4.01, 4.02. This is basically what we see here, 4 lessons. And what these lessons actually touch on is more focus on, okay, you already have your basics, you know how to move the bike. It goes into things like S-course, crank course, the pylon, famous plank, and you will also do e-brake or emergency braking. So this is basically lessons that test more areas around agility, and basically control of the bike, clutch control, finer bits of it, see if you have the finesse to manage the bike, control speed. You will can go on to 501 to 502. This is 2 lessons in total. And what this does is that this portion combines all that you had learned upfront. So it combines everything into a single lesson, and this and is actually important is when you actually learn the circuit that is required for the circuit test for your traffic police. 5.01 is getting familiar with it. They would teach you how to go through the course. And then 5.02 is more focused on, they will actually assess you in terms of your timing, etc. In parallel, I do recommend that you do your riding theory evaluation, because once you pass your evaluation, you can go for your riding theory test, right? So at this point of time, when you've done like lesson 4 onwards, you will also be introduced to defensive riding. And that's 3 lessons. So once the parts I've highlighted in yellow are basically the 3 prerequisites and things that you would need. And this is theory, by the way, the defensive times 3. You will be able to go for your provisional driving license, your PDL. What this allows you to do is with your PDL, you can start to go onto the road lessons for your practical, which is 6.01 to 8.01. So this is 3 lessons in total. So all the stuff you learn on the circuit, you will actually apply it onto the road. There is also something else that became compulsory at the end of 2019. You need to make sure you do your simulator course. And it's 3 of the lessons. The thing about the simulator is that there isn't a test to it. It is mainly, and you basically have to write a simulator through high-risk scenarios and learn how to deal with it. But there's no test to it. The other thing to add before I forget is that for me, I forgot about this because I have a Class 3 license. For those that don't, you actually have to do a basic theory test. If you already had your Class 3 license, and it could even be like 20 years ago, you don't have to do this. So once you pass that and you have it, it's there forever. There are basically time limits or expiry dates, right? So let me just share with you. This one here has an expiry date. This one here has an expiry date. So for RTT, it basically has a 1-year expiry. So my recommendation is don't do your RTT too early, because if it expires, you have to resit the riding theory evaluation before doing the riding theory test again. Right? So it's another time you have to go through it once it expires. The simulator, it has expiry date of basically 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. So with this, I hope this has been useful, at least giving you a rough idea of how everything works. But I will add some links below so that you can have a look at some of the other resources that are really good, more blogs. Yeah.